We're under a month from Braden Smith's legendary senior campaign. Is there any chance that he can break the assist record?
You are Locked On Boilermakers, your daily podcast on the Purdue Boilermakers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into another episode of Locked On Boilermakers here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your host. I am Nick Arvin, and we have a fun episode talking about Braden Smith. He's in for one of the most important years in college basketball. His senior year, it's coming up, and today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So if you guys are just joining us, Locked On Boilermakers, we're bringing you guys daily content. If you guys could subscribe, comment, like, it helps us out a ton as we want to continue to bring that daily content to you guys as Purdue basketball is getting so close. 23 days. I can feel it. Purdue, Kentucky, can't wait for that one. And someone that we're going to see in that ball game, someone that we're absolutely going to see this year is Braden Smith. And he's played all his years at Purdue. He's been the face of this program in the years following Zach Edey. Zach Edey leaves. Braden Smith kind of steps out last year, has an absolute career year where he puts up 15.8, 8.7 assists, and overall, so many big moments for Braden Smith last year, so many big moments for Purdue. And going into this year, there's all the expectations that's kind of going to be the same. But this year, there are some historic connotations surrounding Braden Smith's senior season because obviously we have the national championship on the line. He has the opportunity to claim the national championship as the leading point guard for this team. Additionally, National Player of the Year. He is the favorite to win that award. That would be huge, winning it as a point guard. That's something that hasn't happened since 2018. But something even bigger than those two things, and not bigger than the team, but bigger from a standpoint that this is historic. This is something that hasn't been done in years. This record has stood the test of time. The assist record, the all-time assist record in NCAA play. Braden Smith is technically on pace to break that record. And if he would be able to do that, that's historic. Braden Smith, he goes down in history. That's record book material. That's something that when you think back 30 years from now, you tell your kids about Braden Smith because he changed the game from a point guard position. Braden Smith has the opportunity to really do the kind of triple crown, so to speak, this year. When you think about assist record, that you have the opportunity to break that. You have the opportunity to win the National Player of the Year award, and you have the opportunity to bring your team to their first national championship. This is going to be the biggest individual year for a player that we've seen in quite a while. And for Braden Smith, that should be exciting for that guy because he's an ultra competitor. He's a guy who kills for the opportunities to have high stakes on a year like this, to have people watching him, to have people say, hey, this Braden Smith guy, this is a guy that is about to have a historic season this year. And it's like, we feel it. We know that Braden Smith, he's absolutely going to deliver to standards. We'll hit on that assist record, what he needs, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be a grind. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to be Braden's priority. I think his priority is going to be winning games. He absolutely has the opportunity to break this record that has been around for forever. That's a historic record for people at Duke. Bobby Hurley, he got that one. And Braden Smith, he's 318 assists away from that record. Last year, he had right around that 313 assists. So he needs 5 more assists this year than what he had last year in order to get that record done. Bobby Hurley, he has 1,076 assists. That's the record. All time, that is the record. That's a record that, just like the scoring record, very historic, a record that means a lot to a lot of people. So Braden Smith sits at 758 assists following his junior year. Like I said, that comes out to 318 assists that Braden Smith needs. So If you kind of do the math on that, last year, Braden, he averaged 8.7 assists per game. This year, he's going to average a little bit around that same range. He's going to need to average that. If you think about Purdue last year, they make it to the Sweet 16. They have the opportunity to make it a little bit further this year. That's 3 more games that you have the opportunity to play, Lord willing, if you're able to get that far. That's 3 more games for Braden Smith to generate assists. That's 3 more opportunities for Braden Smith to get close to that record. So I think that there's a real possibility for him to be able to do it this year. I think he needs to average right around where he was last year, right around 8.7 games, 8.7 assists per game, and stay healthy. That's going to be the number one thing. Never want to take a player's health for granted. Don't want to take Braden Smith's health for granted at all, but overall, he's been pretty consistent being on the floor. Braden Smith isn't a guy that has really been injury prone over the years, and that's what's kind of allowed him to be in this position to have this high stakes year in his senior year. But for Braden Smith, it's not the same team as last year. You'll have 8.7 assists last year, but you didn't have as many pieces. You were an amazing playmaker. You got your teammates ready in every possible way, getting it down low in the pick and roll. But this year, you're going to be so much better on both of those sides because you have Daniel Jacobson healthy again, 7'4". That's so much size that you can slot it in at the center spot, and the ability to throw up lobs for Braden Smith. That's something that you didn't necessarily have last year. Obviously, getting it done with TKR, his ability to play make with TKR, get the assists down to Ren, down in the post, that certainly helped, and that'll still be there this year. But now you have the lob to Jacobson, and that's not it, because something else that a lot of people aren't talking a whole lot about is Oscar Clough. You bring him in. This is a guy that, like I said, it doesn't get talked about because it doesn't go on the stat sheet, but Oscar Clough's ability to set screens. This is a guy that is absolutely, he's so strong, so burly. You get set on a pick by this guy and you're not getting around. So that generates looks within the pick and roll. That gets you opportunities for Braden Smith to get involved in the pick and roll, get downhill, collapse that defense, and then find your man. Pass it to Clough, who rolls on the right side. Pass it on the outside if that defensive collapses. You have so many more opportunities this year, so many more looks for Braden Smith to be able to get downhill, to get those assists, to rack up those assists, and to continue to play make for his teammates. And then the last little thing that I do want to talk about in terms of factors kind of hindering or getting Braden Smith to that assist record, what's going to affect him. I think that Omer Meyer, him coming in, I think that's going to play less of a role for Braden Smith's pure numbers. I think it's going to help Braden Smith in terms of being a better backcourt, having that guy coming up behind him that plays just like him, not just like him from a standpoint of these guys are alike in the way that they play their game, but they're alike in the fact that they like to handle the ball. They like to get involved. Omer Meyer is definitely a young shooter who can spark fires. He's not as good getting downhill as Braden Smith quite yet, but the ability to take pressure off Smith's shoulders. He's going to play a ton of minutes this year, Braden Smith is. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that he doesn't have to have the ball in his hands all the time. And believe it or not, I think that honestly may help him out a little bit as a playmaker because it makes you a little bit less predictable. Because although it's hard to stop Braden Smith, if you can predict what he's going to do, you can do the right thing defensively to stop him. If you have Omer Meyer coming off the bench, banging down threes, getting guys involved, and then you also have Braden Smith who can play off ball at times, that's going to be it's just going to be a deadly matchup. That point guard play for Purdue is going to be so good. And Braden Smith, he sets himself up for a historic season. He sets himself up to go in the history books. We'll talk about where he sets up. If he was able to pull off the triple threat, I don't know. We need a word to call it. The National Player of the Year, National Championship, and break that assist record this year. That's an all-time season. We'll talk about where that puts him in terms of all-time point guards, what his legacy will be. We'll have that here. Stick with us. We got it next. The NFL season is here. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and they get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, Put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because I can bet however I want. Maybe I want to jump in live on the action, live bet. Hey, maybe I want to hit up a futures bet, parlay, same game parlay. It doesn't matter because you can do it all with FanDuel. If you're looking for accessibility, different ways to bet, FanDuel is the play. And right now, you can jump in on FanDuel as well. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Square. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home. Whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. When we show up as a community, it can mean big business for local business owners. Money spent in the neighborhood stays in the neighborhood. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite local neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. So we talked a little bit about the pace that Braden Smith is going to need because he has the opportunity to break the all-time assist leading record that has stood for quite a while from Bobby Hurley at Duke. And I feel like it kind of goes unnoticed just how big of an opportunity Braden Smith does have this year. When you talk about him being the front runner for the National Player of the Year, Purdue being the front runners for the national championship, he has the opportunity to break this record. This has the opportunity to be one of the most historic years from a point guard that we've ever seen in the history of college basketball. People aren't talking about that enough. People talk about how good Braden Smith is, but it just always stuns me how great this man actually is. And the greatness, the standard of greatness, it's subjective, absolutely subjective. But when you think about point guards in the history of college basketball, there are ones that stand out. And whether that's for a big season, whether that's for a big career, those guys stand out for a reason. And I feel like Braden Smith, he has the opportunity to cement himself on that long list of guys. He has the opportunity to cement himself not just as having one of the best seasons of all time this year, but just having one of the best overall point guard careers in college basketball because he truly does have the accolades. So let's go over my criteria, my top 5 point guards of all time. And we'll start it out. Magic Johnson at Michigan State. He plays 3 years at Michigan State, 1977 to 1999. 1979 NCAA champion, of course, and the most watched game ever against Larry Bird, that Indiana State game. Overall, Magic Johnson, just kind of the aura around him, so to speak. I have him in that top 5. I also have Bobby Hurley, who is the assist leader, 3-time Final Four guy, 2-time NCAA national champion, 1989 to 1993. That assist record has lasted for 30 years. Like I said, 2-time national championship assist record leader. That guy's in there for a reason. Moving on, I also have Isaiah Thomas, Indiana, 1979, 1981. He won the national championship in 1981. Played 3 years. Once again, one of those guys that are legendary. They have that legendary appeal to them, much like a Magic Johnson. You think this guy, you think, of course, this is a top point guard of all time. I also have Jameer Nelson from St. Joseph's. This is one that's kind of an under the radar pull, but he did win National Player of the Year. He won the Wooden Award, which is kind of like, like a Braden Smith. He has the opportunity. Braden Smith has the opportunity to have a Jameer Nelson like season. I think it'll be more mainstream, obviously, because Purdue, more mainstream than a St. Joseph's, but it is what it is. I have Jameer Nelson in that top 5. And then Jason Kidd from California, Pac-10, all the accolades, freshman of the year, first team All-American. Cal team never really had much success, but Jason Kidd, he was always prevalent. Those are a few guys. Obviously, there are so many more. Just a legendary in the history of college basketball. It spans on so long that there are so many guys. Of course, I'm snubbing people, but those are people that I think of as legendary point guards from a college basketball perspective. And really, I mean, he's got to prove himself. Obviously, he's not going to have the name when you think Braden Smith next to some of those guys. Obviously, Braden Smith, he belongs on that list. But Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, those are guys that got it done in the NBA for a long period of time. So I'm not saying that Braden Smith is Magic Johnson, but what I am saying that his college basketball accolades, his opportunity, the impact that he's had on Purdue and college basketball in general, the opportunity for him to have this triple threat season where he does all those things, it puts him up there with the best of all time. People are understanding Braden Smith. Yes, he's the best player in the nation right now. He's the best player in college basketball right now. People aren't saying that this is potentially a guy that is going to go down as a top 5 point guard in the history of college basketball. That's how good Braden Smith, that's how good he is. That's how good this team has been around him. That's how much of an impact he's had on Purdue, and he absolutely has the accolades as well. You talk about he made it to that national championship in 2023. He has all the assists. He is on track for that assist record. He has the resume. He absolutely was an All-American. He has everything going for him. All Big Ten. He has all the accolades. He has more accolades than anybody. You can put his resume up against anybody, and it's going to be right up there with the best of the best. I can't wait for this season because I think that Braden Smith has something to prove. I feel like these Boilermakers have something to prove. I feel like people have not necessarily ridden this team off, but they have disrespected this team's ability and what this team is, because this team is legendary. This team really does have the opportunity to be legendary. This is the team that you tell your kids about. Braden Smith is a player that you tell your kids about. This isn't a year. This isn't any old team. This is a historic season for a historic team, and Braden Smith is the historic player that's leading that charge. It's going to be a resume year for Braden Smith. This is going to be a year that's going to cement him in the history of college basketball in the record books, and I'm so glad I get to cover this team for it. I'm so glad I get to cover Braden Smith because he's a dog, he's that guy, and he's in for a huge season. We'll talk about a huge game that's happening on Saturday. Transition to football for the last segment of the show. Purdue, Illinois. What are Purdue's keys to victory for upsetting the Illini at home? We'll talk about it. Stick with us. We got it here next. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings that same intention to how they craft every single model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, like our players, we sweat every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda. Move and be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best price with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I love using Game Time because I don't have to worry about all that getting added on at the end. I don't have to worry about the price jumping at the checkout. That's something that I hate, something that Game Time doesn't deal with. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So this Saturday, a huge game in terms of college football, where Purdue's at. And we talked about it earlier this week about how this month of October, it's going to be absolutely crucial for where Purdue goes because you face off against Illinois, then you get Minnesota, Rutgers, and Northwestern. Those are all games that are winnable, and you need to take care of at least a couple of those games. If you want to get on track, we need to start winning games now. Illinois is a tough opponent. So if you don't win that one, it's not an uproar, but you need to start winning these games, right? So going into Ross-Ade, Illinois, they travel in. Coming off a win against USC, and then the week before, a huge loss against Indiana. So for Illinois, an emotional win last week against Indiana. You have people questioning you. There are big question marks around your team. What the identity, the structure of this team is. If this team is really here to compete, if just nobody knew, because that Indiana and Kurt Signetti, they beat Illinois so bad that just nobody knew even if this team was real, if they were fake, who they were. So going into USC, big question marks, a lot of conversation surrounding this team. And they do answer the bell. They beat the Trojans, and the Illini, they go into Ross-Ade, pumped, excited, happy about their victory. But for Illinois, this has the opportunity to be one of the biggest trap games that you're going to play all year. Because coming off that USC win, you're riding high. You're excited. You may not be thinking about the Boilermakers that you're facing off against next Saturday. And then to add to that, next week, following Purdue's game, they go on to Columbus to face off against the Buckeyes of Ohio State, number one team in the nation. You don't think that Illinois, you don't think that they've circled that game for quite a while? I'm sure they have. I'm sure that there's a possibility that's not zero that the Illinois Illini are looking forward to that Ohio State game, thinking we got this Purdue team in the bag. They don't know what they're doing. This 1-11 team of last year, we're going to take care of them and then rumble down and try to upset the Buckeyes. But for Illinois, that's not the case. This is a Purdue team that last year, when they were 1-11, took you to 49-50, lost in overtime due to a questionable call. This isn't a team, especially not at home, that's going to let you run over them. So that the idea that this team's going to have an easy win, that's not there. And for a Purdue perspective, I think that's something that you can use against Illinois. You're on 2 weeks of rest. You got your bye week. You're coming off a bye week while Illinois has played 6 games in a row. They're working hard. Like I said, that trap feeling to it. There's an opportunity for you to win this game, but you have to do the right things. And there are 3 things that you have to do if you want to win this game. We saw it against Indiana. What Indiana was able to do to Illinois was they were able to create a one-dimensional offense. Illinois was not able to run the ball at all in that game, which allowed Indiana to kind of play the pass. And when you play the pass, you limit the pass, and they were able to do that. So you limit Illinois' offense by making them one-dimensional. For Purdue, you got to do that, and you got to establish that defensive identity that was lacking against Notre Dame, because that's just what it was. Notre Dame, great offense. They did it to Arkansas the following week, but you got to fix things there. On the defensive side of the ball, make Illinois one-dimensional. Whether you can control them on the through the passing game, whether you can try to stop that running game. Try to stop the running game early, force them to be one-dimensional. That's the key to beating this Illinois team. Make them earn it on offense. That's the only way. Number 2, for Purdue, offensively. We talk about it all the time. This has been a key theme to this team because, honestly, it's the truth. You don't have the margin of errors to win games if you're turning the ball over. We saw it when Purdue played USC. 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions, especially in that USC red zone. That's going to beat you over the outcome of the game, especially against an opponent that's going to be able to capitalize the way that this Illinois team is. So you can't give Luke Altmaier and this Illinois offense any more opportunities than they absolutely need. So for Purdue, you cannot turn the ball over. And that goes to Ryan Brown. Last year, you break out in this game. This is a game that's meant a lot to you, and you have the opportunity to do it again this year. Do not turn the ball over. You were better last week against Notre Dame, and this is nothing against Ryan Brown. I understand Ryan Brown is a baller, and we are glad to have him as our quarterback. But there have been some turnover issues that was there in the offseason. We're kind of starting to see it at the beginning of this season. I'm not out on Ryan Brown. I'm not downing Ryan Brown. I think that he is fully talented, but there are some turnover issues. And in order to win games, in order to win meaningful games, you cannot turn the ball over. For your leader, for Ryan Brown, absolutely, he has to have that message. You can't get intercepted in this game. You cannot give Illinois any more opportunities than they absolutely need. And then finally, I have one more, and this goes on to Illinois. Back to their offense, Luke Altmaier. He has his favorite target, his favorite receiver. That guy's Hank Beatty. In games where Hank Beatty gets at least 5 receptions, Illinois is undefeated. And obviously, they only have one loss. But against Indiana and Kurt Signetti, they found the key to success for beating Illinois, and that's limiting Beatty because he is Altmaier's number one guy. 383 yards on the year. But against Indiana, he was held to only 2 receptions, 13 yards, 0 touchdowns. In other games, he's had over 100 yards against Duke, touchdowns. In that one game against Western Michigan, Beatty has been the guy for Illinois. He's been the guy where they want to get him in space. They want to get those big gains going through him, and that gets that offense rolling. That gives them the opportunity to start running the ball. That gives Luke Altmaier the ability to stretch it out throughout more of the field. And ultimately, this offense is better when Altmaier is connecting with Beatty. So to add to the one-dimensional perspective of that's what you want to do to this offense, that's the way that you want to keep them off the field. You have to limit Beatty. That's the way you get it done. That's the way that you limit this Illinois offense. So there's a lot to talk about in this one. We're going to have Sonny of Locked On Illinois here on the show tomorrow. So make sure to tune in for that one. But always exciting things happening at Locked On. Once again, if you guys are just viewing us for the first time, please do like, subscribe. It helps us all out a ton as we want to continue bringing you daily content all on Locked On, but specifically Boilermaker content here on Locked On Boilermakers. Thank you guys for joining us. And it's just another exciting moment for Locked On as Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12. He leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Hawley, and Locked On's local experts. It's a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Thank you guys for joining us. And as always, boiler up, hammer down.